Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Jakarta Content Week 2022. The event is organized by the 17,000 Pulau Imaji Foundation and Frankfurter Buchmesse. This time, we will have a discussion. The session is a part of LitFest. LitFest is a program that focuses on literary and book conversations, covering production, distribution, community, and activism, as well as the latest discourses in the Asia Pacific region by inviting well-known literary and book writers and actors from Indonesia and abroad. I will call our moderator who will guide today's discussion, Gladys Eliona Syahutari as a writer. Remember, we also provide a door prize for the first audience who ask questions at each of our session. For Gladys Eliona Syahutari, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon for everyone. I'm going to invite Helene here too. Yeah, we're just gonna sit here. This is Helen Bukowski. Before we talk about Helen's work and our surprisingly kind of heavy topic today, I'm gonna read Helen's bio here. Helen Bukowski, born in Berlin in 1993, now lives back in her birthplace. She studied at Hildesheim Literature Institute, and in addition to writing, also leads courses and workshops in creative writing. In 2019, her debut novel Milk Teeth was published, for which she nominated for the Mara Cousins Prize, the Roriser Literature Prize, and Kranichsteiner Literature Promotion Prize, among others. The novel has been translated into French and English, and a film adaptation is in preparation. Wow. Her second novel is The Warrior, was published in 2022. All right, so what are we going to talk today? So here's Helen. So it's interesting to really see a little bit about your work that is more about feminine narrative and ecology. So why do you choose that theme, and what drives you to really write about that?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I'm happy to be here. It's the first time I speak in English about my work, so I try my best, but don't be too hard to me. And yeah, feminism and economy, environment. I think it's important topics because it all has something to do with us. And I think also, I don't know if you have the same in Indonesia, but in Germany, when you look back, a lot of books are about men and their life. And I kind of got boring to hear about it, and I thought it's important now that we have different stories. So I always try to have very good female characters, and also with a lot of layers, because in Germany we have also that the female characters are a wife or just a partner or the sister, but they don't really have a character. So I think it's important to have different narratives. Yeah.
So in your novel,
But I wanted to ask you if
Oh,
you
yeah,
have the
sorry.
same problem in
Yeah.
Indonesia.
In Indonesia, we kind of have the same problem
Okay.
also. We have like a lack of feminine voices,
Yeah.
and the ecological voices is very rare also. And I think it's kind of universal. It's not just in the Western world, but I think it is also a problem in Southeast Asia and Indonesia, particularly. So yeah, I wanna ask.
But is it changing now? Do you
It
have the
is,
feeling?
yeah, it's really changing because more emerging voices from younger writers, from writers that is our age. It's now more heard and seen in our, what is it, in our scene, which nowadays.
Yeah, but I think it's important because when I grew up, I didn't had any uh, female characters to that I wanted to be, and so it's important to have the stories for also young children to see that there's the possibility to be more than a wife or more to be more, you know. And I think if you read stories about different female characters, you yeah yeah.
And the funny thing is, it's not just like in the Western world, but a lot of feminine narration, like a lot of feminine writings are talking about nature also. So, what message that you want to convey? Like, do you have like certain message, or what was on your mind when you write about feminine things and nature?
Yeah, so I didn't really plan anything before I gonna start writing. I don't know if it's how you work, but in the beginning, I look at pictures, I collect pictures, and then I start to think about things. But I didn't thought that I gonna write a book about climate change. It just slowly developed while I was writing. But I think it was because it was a huge topic in Germany, and I think a good writer is someone who is observing their surrounding. So I sometimes have the feeling that things go through me, and for me, it's important to do something with it. It's not you because then you get some power back. You know what I mean? It's so. I take it and then I have to do something and then I can let it out again. Otherwise, I think it would be it would be a destroying process, just that you absorb the things and can't get out. Yeah, so it's very important for my writing.
But do you have like personal experiences that drives you to like really write and think about this particular topic? Like, what did you encounter so you are drive to write this?
I was writing, and the summer was really, really hot in Germany, and you couldn't really go outside because it was so hot, and the trees, they didn't get enough water, and this is happening, so I had to write about it. And I don't know if you have this topic in here in Indonesia. I know you have the topic about climate change, but if there are people already writing about it, because in Germany it just started that people use it in their stories as a topic, because I think literature is very slow and it takes time to write a book. So yeah, but I think in the future it will be much more a topic in books.
Yeah, because the climate fiction in Indonesia are more, I think, and what I observe, is still a very small topic to discuss, and I see that just a few of numbers of climate short fictions were published, mainly in the more Southeast Asia context. It's more, it's not only Indonesia that have concerns about this, but the solidarity between South Asian countries and the writers from the region also, we're like very interested in exploring about how it affects us. Do you know that Jakarta is the most sinking city in the world? Like it's the most fast sinking city in the world, and fourth of our city will be sunk at 2050. So
Okay.
yeah.
So is there any novel who is
Interestingly, still no.
no?
That-
Okay,
yeah.
so maybe it's you the next topic, or I don't know.
maybe. Yeah. So
But do you have like an example for a book what is published here who has the topic, or is there none?
I see that some of the topic that is talking about the climate is actually written by men, and they talk about drought. They talk about the effect of the climate and the economy, for example, in the farmers and thing. But what do you think if what do you see in the urban setting, like how the climate topic is relevant to the urban setting, if you have
I don't
a
really,
thought?
yeah, I don't know, but I think it's interesting that the men are talking, like, this part of, because was what I was interested more about. It's not like more about the things that get transported, the feelings that get transported by literature. So I didn't want my novel is not like very nearby the reality. It has this fantastic moments, but I think they're good to transport the feeling that how it's going to be to live in a world who's so hot, and what's happened then. So yeah, I think literature has to transmit the feelings and not the how you say
The message, or like
yeah.
the educational stuff
Yeah.
that is
So I think that's
underlying.
for other people to do this part of yeah, teaching about the world.
Right. And what is the setting of your novel? Like,
So it doesn't really has a place, or you don't know the place. It's just it's called like an area, or where everybody is calling it just an area. And there's a mother and a daughter who live in a house, and the daughter finds a young girl in the woods and takes her home. And then you know that there are other people, and they don't really are fan of the young girl, because they isolated this area. And they don't want anybody to come in, so they're very strict. And because they're strict because the environment changed so much, and they try to survive in this heat. And but the daughter tries to save this girl, and then there's a big conflict between the daughter and the child and the other people there. So yeah.
right. So again, I'm just gonna make sure, like, you don't have any specific purpose on writing, or you really just write because you just like what you think about the climate, like
Yeah,
that.
I think writing isn't an activism, not writing novels. I think so. If you want to be an activist, you have to protest on the streets, or try different kinds. I'm also do a lot of workshops, and I like to work with children, and I find it interesting to learn to teach them to be a good observer and to be vulnerable with the world. And I think that's an important that has much more impact than writing a book. Sorry to say, but maybe some people write books and it will change the world. But I don't know. I don't know if you have any book in Indonesia who you think changed anything.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, tell
But
me more about it.
but most of books that are very influential to us, we're not really talking about environmentalism, but it's more we talk and a book that is setting here. But mostly, again, it is written by men first. It's our topic today. Most of the books that are very influential were written by men, and well, actually, they don't want to educate, but
Yeah.
it just happened to be published in the right era.
Okay.
And most of them talk about colonialism and how, like, there are disparity between the rich and the poor, something like that. Yeah. Do you have that thing too?
Yes, yes, totally. And also, I think it's what books can is to present the different stories, and also present different role models and stuff like that. And I think that's also in politic. But yeah. But you write also. You do you is your work? You think your work is political, or is activism?
I don't think my work is very like activism, but like you are, my I really have an interest in ecological and feminine narration, because I think nature and feminine forces are a two in, it's like a coin. It comes, and a lot of like nature things are feminized, and the modern thing for me, the modern thing of like ecological thing is not just how we urban people talk about forests, or we talk about seas, and how we really yearning for a better place, like open spaces like that. But we should like move towards how we see the future of those places, right? Which involves climate. So for me, it is really interesting to see the future. It's really interesting to see the future, and that is something that we lacked in Indonesia. Other than you, I just want to know, do you have like inspiration, or do you have like a role model why you want to write about like climate in your fiction? Do you have like any role models?
Not in climate fiction. It's interesting because in Germany, when I published the book, there was also a congress where they invited authors who write about climate change, but they said there are not many, and it's changing now. So there are more people, but yeah, I read a lot of women, so I think that was inspiring for me too. That I also saw, okay, I can write, and also that are different stories. So that was good to see and to read. Yeah.
And what do you think that writing can bring us? Like, do you think that our writing can bring about changes? Do you think so?
I don't. I'm not sure. It would be a wish, but I think it's more about learning to be open, because you can be in different. You read a book and you in the figure, you in the character, and maybe you could change your perspective on topics. So I think that's a very good and magical thing, that you can be a different person and to change things. But yeah, I think unfortunately books are not that powerful. Yeah, but we will see. I don't know. What do you think? It's
But do you think like it's there's like magic on some, because I believe that books or any readings will find their own readers. Like the market can be formed, but I think it's interesting to see that. But I just yeah, right.
But you said also that magic, because
Yeah, magic.
The magic, you also use magic, and it's or mythology and
Yes, as I mentioned before,
Yeah.
I write also about mythologies and the ecology on the feminization of nature, like that. Do you like?
no, I wanted to ask you first. How did it came in your work? Was it always part of it, or did you discover it?
Because I really like how a lot of mythologies in Indonesian context, like there are some figures and icons in the mythology of Indonesia. For example, there are queens of the South Seas, or there
Can you tell me a little bit what is it?
yeah. So
You
yeah,
all know it, I guess,
Yeah,
but-
the Queen of the South Seas is basically a jinn. It's like a genie, or some people say it's genie. Some people say it's like the supernatural queen that will rule the South Sea, and protecting the South Sea from the destroyer and stuff like that. Do you have that thing in Germany?
No, I think, but we have a lot of fairy tales. So, but they're very old, and but often they are strong women. So I find that interesting that in the history they're like witches and bad queens.
Do you
and
like
stuff.
interested to put like strong woman figures in your stories too?
Yes.
Can you like Give me the example for that.
I think the women in the book are very strong because you know they fight against the other people in this area, and they stay strong and they believe in their beliefs. So that was really important for me to have this strong woman, and also in my new book. It was also important for me to write about a different kind of man, because often the men in books are violent or and
Or masculine, just
yeah.
like stereotypically
yeah,
masculine.
and don't speak about their feelings. And I think that's not true. I think there are a lot of men who do, and so I think also this is a good thing I can do. I can write about this man and also change the narrative about it. But we will see what's happened. I know. How do you create your figures? Do you have? Or
yeah.
Do you have figures? Yeah.
Yeah, I do, and I really come from what I really want to be. Like I really like things like hermit, hermit, and then people who recluse themselves and have women that conceal their abilities to another, but they have a very big power. And I again, like you do, I don't have an intention to have like educational stuff. Like I just want to write what I want to write. But when I see like reviews and I see that I have readers too that liked my writings that say they say that it's really refreshing to see a feminine voice talking about how we should protect nature and stuff. I really want to know about how your readers think about milk teeth. Like, do your readers found that climate fiction is interesting too, or
Yeah. So they find it interesting, and they also like the strong female characters. And yes, I think it's also they have the feeling that the feeling is transported to the literature, and that they can now more imagine how it's gonna be in like maybe 20 or 30 years. So maybe they gonna change things, or they gonna be an activist after they read the book. I'm not sure, but I think that's what literature can do, is to transport the feelings, so you can have more an imagination of what it's gonna be.
but do you see that your fiction can be classified as speculative fiction? Do you see that?
Yeah. Do you see it like that, or would you?
Because a lot of climate fiction that I know, they are they're like science fiction. Because maybe a lot of people say that climate fiction is science fiction because they want to deny what
Yeah.
happened, right? They really want to deny that our weather is getting hotter, the sea level is getting higher. And I really think that climate fiction and the science fiction should be something that is separate, because it is, although we talk about science facts here about what happened in climate now, it also give us a stash of reality that what really might happen, right? So what do you think about it?
Yeah, I used in my book, there's trees who bloom the whole time, and it's not what's gonna happen when it's get really hot. So it's not very it's not scientific, yeah, on the science. Yeah. But I used it because it's transported a picture. I had the same feeling when the summer was really hot, and it's first you think, oh, it's nice because it's hot and you can be outside and go to the pool or to the lake. But the summer was so long and too long, and the autumn was still hot, and then it gets a little bit scary. and so this trees who bloom the whole time have the same effect for me, or I used it as the same and thought it's going to be the same effect, because first trees who bloom, it's a nice picture and you think it's nice and you enjoy it, but it takes it
Like disrupt the cycle.
yeah. So and then it gets scary because they bloom every day, and not just in the spring, also in the summer and the winter. And I like this kind of pictures who transport something that I feel, or I don't know. Yeah.
It's really important for us writers to address that something is not right out there,
Yeah.
right? Like, do you think it's part of our job as writer to address kind of things that maybe that is not observed enough, or it is not voiced enough in the public?
I think it's not like a rule, but I think if you want to be a good writer, or if you're a good writer, you automatically will write about things that are important, because what I said, you are an observer, you see things, and I think writing is a reaction. You react on the world, or so if you don't have topics like that in your books, I don't know how you go through the word, because it's happening. So then you have, I don't know, you have closed your eyes. So that's maybe why you don't write about it. But if your eyes are open, you have to write about things that are like climate change.
So we have sort of responsibility. Do you think so?
Yeah, no, I think it's more like the things go through you, and I think you have let things go through you. I think that's important to, if you want to be a writer, you have to do that, and also to be empathetic.
Empathetic, yeah.
Yeah. So
That's what I want to ask too. If how do you, when you write it, how do you engage with your readers? Like, how do you want them to be more empathetic towards the cause that you're writing?
I think you can't be you have to be empathetic. Sorry, I can't pronounce the word. If you read, don't you think? Because you read it and then you're in this position of the person who's in this book. But yeah, I think we humans are that's our quality, that we are empathetic and that we have this ability to let things through us and to work with it, and that we are social and all the stuff, and often forget that we are that. So I think that's the reason why the world is now, the world is as it is now, because a lot of people don't have this or don't let things through them. So they get very isolated and don't see the nature and don't be in the nature. And I think if you would change this, there would be no war, there would be, all this stuff.
Okay, so a quick question: what do you think is more important, aesthetic or politics?
I think it's both. I think you have to connect it. I think you can't write a book without aesthetic, so it wouldn't be a good book. And the aesthetic is always first for me. So, and then I get the topics. I don't know what is your point of view on this topic?
I think I'm kind of agree with you too. I cannot like pick between aesthetic and politics, because if I pick aesthetic, there will be a lot of context that will be missed. But if I put politics, we will be like a literature work that is very angry, and it's just not enjoyable for many of us to read, right? So I think it's nice to take the balance of both.
Yeah,
right?
and I think it's nice to connect them both with each other. So I think that then you're gonna have a good book. But I think it's interesting that always people ask this question: if there is no this or this, it's connected. So yeah, but I always have to have the language has to be good and the pictures has to be good and the motives and all the things. And if they are not good, I don't gonna publish the book, even if it's a good political topic. So yeah.
And again, about the strong woman figure and what I like to say as feminine narrative. What do you think are like feminine narratives? If you maybe you already read a lot of book that is more feminine and women writings, right? What do you think in maybe in German or maybe your own preferences or your writing? Are they are already balanced between like the aesthetic and politics, or just they're like more political, or what do you think about it?
I think I can't really. I don't know because I haven't had all the books who got published.
Based on your
yeah,
readings.
but I think there's a big movement, and I think it's always. I don't know. I think all the women writers I know, they write good books and they connect these two topics with each other, and they're not like this with the so yeah. I think Björn.
Not dictating
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah. Right.
I think always men say that they dictate, but I think often they didn't read the book, or I don't know what they're talking about because they don't have examples for this.
Do you think
opinion.
female cannot dictate? Or something?
Yes, they can, but the women I know, they are good people and good writers, so they do a good job. How is it here? Do you have the feeling that there's like a
Right. So I think that a lot of female writers here are there are two kinds of female writers that I think it's very different. A lot of female writers are more political here, but there are some female writers that also just write very like romantic in a romantic gesture. So I think it's really based on the preference and the purpose of the writing. So again, back to the literature. Do you think that we need a propaganda literature? Like, do you think because we talk about ecologies, because we talk about more feminist voice, do you think that is necessary for us to expand more on the literature that propagates?
No, because I think it's like then it's propaganda.
Yeah, right.
It's not literature, so it shouldn't be propaganda. And if you look at the past, propaganda literature was never good. and
Even it's for the better changes in the world.
I don't know. I think we should write speeches, or we should write I don't know. Maybe poems sometimes are more more suitable for the protest, but still, I think a book. I don't know. I think it's not. It hasn't that much power. But I think it's good to because I write, and I think it's good to have a different job or different activity to be an activist. So you can do activism and write, for
Yes,
example.
yes.
You don't have to separate that.
Right. And it's really it's a very dividing and very hard job to be like being activist and being a writer. And we have to like speak, but we want to write also. Like I think it's not that we have to choose, but it's just two different tasks. I think the becoming a very outspoken person and the outside, but we want to convey some things that we think, right? Okay. So excuse me, kita punya waktu berapa lagi? 12 menit lagi. Okay. So I think we're gonna move to if anyone wants to ask about milk teeth, or about what Helen thinks of, I don't know, what we just talk. yeah. Any other question? If we don't have a question, we. Oh yeah, yeah. Please.
A more technical question. So, Milk Teeth is your first novel. What did you write before, and how did you get published, or what was the process?
So I wrote short stories before, and then I always thought I don't gonna write a novel because I liked short stories. But then I studied creative writing, and we had this seminar, and I brought a short story, who was the beginning of Milk Teeth, and I presented it at the course, and everybody was like, "That's very interesting. We want to know more about it because there's a world around it, and there are these figures, and they act strange, and we want to know why." And I tried to put it all in a short story, but it didn't work out. So I thought, okay, now maybe I have to write a novel, and then I started to write a novel and had a lot of crisis, and I thought I never gonna finished it, and then, but then I did, and we have this. It's like a book that gets published every year, where all the students can put their story in, and I put an excerpt of Milk Teeth in it, and then agency read it and said, okay, that's interesting. If you have a book, send us more. And then I finished it, and I sent it to them, and then they found a publishing house to publish it. So that was the story behind the book. I don't know how it's in Indonesia, how you get things published.
Yeah, it's really yeah. Can I answer? uh, it really depends on the publisher because a lot of publisher really heavily curates the writer and the manuscripts. A lot of publisher are really they have their own tone and they have their own thing. So I was in a major publisher. It was Gramedia, and my recent translation was in a more indie publishing, but they have a very curated and very heavy readers. Like they have very popular readers. And your book was is it a major publisher or an independent publisher?
It's an independent publishing house, but a bigger publishing house, so not like a really small one. Yeah, but and do you have agencies here in Indonesia?
We tried to have.
Okay.
Like Pak John Meglin was trying to make an agency. That's what I heard, and then
It didn't went well. Oh no, why?
yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
It's just I think writers here are more very like independent and it's
Okay.
very community based
Yeah.
thing. So agency was it was a very strange concept
Okay,
for
okay.
Indonesian writers. I
But
don't know.
it's
that's
okay.
what
I think you don't have to have an agency. It's
Right.
just, yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, but I think it's also because the ecosystem around publishing is very different in Germany, for instance, which is like an old, grown market, and Indonesia is still a younger market, and the business of publishing or publishing other than educational books is still something that needs to be worked on. Yeah, I think from what I hear. Yeah, but I think it's quite amazing. So you wrote your first novel, an agency discovered you, and you won prizes with this novel.
and one, I just was nominated.
Oh, you were nominated. Okay,
It's
but
still
that's-
a big deal.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
But I was
And-
a little bit sad about it because I got a lot of nomination and didn't win any prize.
Oh, well, it's
But
only
yeah.
your first novel.
So yeah, exactly.
No, I know.
And then you also, and I think that is quite amazing, your book got translated into English. So it was bought by a UK-US publisher, which is not easy, we hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, about the agencies is really it's about the ecosystem. We do have an agency. I mean, in fact, we are opening our own agency called Literasia, starting to operate in 2020. Formerly, I was in Chachalmori, Thailand, and that's the extension of Tatalmori, Japan, one of the biggest literary agency in Asia. But Claudia is correct. I mean, it is basically the ecosystem. So uh, the the power, if I'm saying, Claudia, in Europe, the power is more in the agent. So once you are an established agent, then you can you have basically the bargaining chips. But in here in Indonesia, the publisher is they prefer more to deal with the authors directly. So that is still the ecosystem. But the agency in Indonesia is at the moment, the movement, I think they're only, it's like Borobudur Agency, then Literasia, and then Lontar as well. And the publishers there have their own copyright managers that, but the focus at the moment for these agencies are trying to promote Indonesian authors abroad rather than bridging
Inside,
within,
yeah.
yeah, bridging the within the Indonesian itself.
But how do you do it then? Do you have just you have a book or you wrote a book and then you send the book or the thing
Yeah,
to
the
the
manuscript,
to
yeah.
publishing house?
Yes, and then
Okay.
yeah. So basically,
And they
that's,
read everything, or do they have because in Germany then they have the rooms where they put everything, and often they just throw it away because
well, I think luck might be playing a part on that as well, because
Okay.
you know the editors have tons of submissions every
Yeah.
day, but usually in Indonesian publishing house they have designated editors. So there's some kind of filtering system that a certain editors was assigned to certain themes or certain genres, and then they will do the review, and then they will decide whether they want to publish this or not. Or sometimes they have a feedback for the authors. So I think your book has the potential, but can we do it like this? And they have inputs, and then once it's agreed, and then it got published.
Okay. And does it help if you know someone in the publishing industry so that they can present the manuscript to someone? You know?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Yeah.
so. I think so. But other than that, usually the publisher also do the scouting in literary competitions. So, for example, with the uh, DKJ recent novel, I think.
Yeah, DKJ.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the Jakarta Council
Jakarta
of
Council of
Culture,
Arts,
yeah.
Arts Council.
So Arts Council, they do a novel competition, short stories competition, poems competition, and then usually the winner will have a publishing house that interested in their works.
Yeah, we have the same in Germany that you have this prize and then you can submit. Yeah.
Do you have like multiple prizes, like nomination? Like you have like multiple,
Like
right?
young prizes, also you can where you before you're not allowed if you have published a book, but you can participate if you haven't published a book. So it's a lot about short stories, and then you send a short story, and then there's like I don't know, the open mic, for example, it's a big prize, and then you present your text or your story on a stage, and then there's a jury, and they choose one story, and you get a prize. And often, if you win this, you get a publishing house gets interested in your work. So
I'm interested about like the prizes and the book market itself. Like, do they really have do they really talk about similar topics like you did? Like, is it like a very universal topic in your generation of writer, or is it's really very individualized?
So like which topic? Like
Yeah, do the people in your generation write the topics like you do, like the climate and the feminine thing, or do they have like a very individualized and they have their own strength?
I think it's very individual, and I think that's also the nice thing about books, that they're so different, and that you can read this, and they have different opinions and different characters. And so I'm sometimes a little bit critical about prices because they say, okay, this book is the best book, and I think we really can't say if this is the best book. It's more about I like the variety of the books, so and the different stories, and but I think it's yeah.
Okay, interesting. Any other question? Yeah.
Can I? Is it the writing platform? Is it popular in Germany, like Wattpad? You know, for this younger generation of writers, they were. I see that the rising numbers of that they put their writing on this platform like Wattpad, and then we have Karya Karsa, the subscription base, and then we have Wajaku, another writing platform, and then
Is it like a blog or what is it?
is it this is like
Patreon.
yeah
It's
yeah
like Patreon.
like Patreon, but yeah. It's this Wattpad is a really popular platform. So basically everyone can write there, and then they gain following. And once it became popular, it's common that we see. Then it was acquired a production house, and then they made a series of movie or television series from this writing. So is it a thing in Germany?
I don't think so. It's more. I think we had it in the past that people wrote blogs and published stories, but right now I can't really think of any who's doing it like that. Maybe I don't know Patreon. I think, but then it's also about money, getting money. I don't know if it's what is the yeah.
Yeah, some are getting money, but some were just writing for recognition, I think.
And do they publish stories, or what do they publish their stories?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's like a community, and you can have comment on the story and
Yes.
talk about it, and
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And we're a very social media heavy
Yeah.
society. So a lot of things. For example, like my writer's friend who are actually like not published or they're not in the book market ish. They went to things like Karya Karsa or things like our local Patreon to really make their own make their own what is it readers, and they make on their own thing revenue.
I think it's nice because the internet has the quality to be an open space, and you can put things, and you don't have to know the publisher, or so people can get famous, or people read them because they can just publish it there. It's I think it's nice that there's no barrier to publish things.
So you back again. You start from writing short fictions.
Yeah.
And where do you publish it before?
Just like magazines or books with other authors who also got published their short story. It's in our university. It's very common that you can publish in books that our university publishes books with our stories. So this was part of the university.
Is it like a university? What is it? University final thing, like final task.
No, it's more like a regularly thing that every year you publish the short story. But I in the end you work on one book. So mit Milk Teeth I worked like it was part of the part of the studium studies that to write one book, and you get support from your teachers, and they help you and ask this character doesn't work or something like that.
So you got a lot of feedbacks before you publish it.
Yes.
Like that. Right.
And that's the most part of the to study it. You sit in a room with other writers and you talk about your work, and you present your work, and they say that doesn't work, and or they say this one is good. And I find it really inspiring because I think a book is not written just by the author. There are a lot of people, in my case, there are a lot of people involved to help me with like the plot or So I think it's important to to not be alone, while writing, because there are a lot of crises, and if you all on your own, then I think I couldn't survive this crisis. So I don't know how you work, if you involve a lot of people, or do you just?
It's really nice to have a very big community of not just writers but readers, and we also like interact more. And speaking of that, I really want to know how your book impacts more after it is translated to French and English. I mean, you already like have this influence in contemporary German literature right now, but how do you think your book will give impact if it's already translated to English and French?
Yeah, I guess because more people read it, so it has more impact. But it was interesting when it got published in France. It was during the pandemic, and because it's about a very isolated area, they all read it with this pandemic experience in mind, and they had a totally different view on it. And it was interesting to see this book in this different light and to talk with them about this topic. And yeah, I feel very honored that it's translated to French and English, so it's not just for Germans.
Do you have any encounter like difficulties when do you encounter difficulties when you are in process on writing Milk Teeth, and then what do you feel? What do you feel after you know that your book is like winning something?
You mean like crisis?
The crisis
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah, I had this very big crisis where I thought I never gonna finish it, and then I had a nice opportunity to go to live in a house. There lives an old woman. She doesn't live anymore, but she offered me that I could stay at her place and just write. So I went there for a month, I think, and told my friends, don't text me. I didn't use any social media in this time, and I didn't watch any movies. I just read and wrote. And then I could finish the book. So it was, I survived the crisis. And then I came back later for editing the book, and to, so that was good. And I think crises are always parts of writing, because it's also such a long process.
Yeah,
it took me like 3-4 years. I think it would be strange if there wouldn't be any.
To write this, you 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And like, how do you research for the stories?
For this book, I didn't have to research a lot. I just once watched a YouTube video to how to kill a rabbit and to take out all the things, and so
Very gory.
Yeah. But for my second novel, because it's about military and women in military, I had to research a lot, and I spoke a lot with soldiers, and also read a lot. And I really enjoyed to research so much, because I think that's also a nice part of writing, that you can learn about a topic and to go into it very deep, and so that's always for the second, Die Kriegerin, the warrior. I read a lot and had these interviews, and then I started writing.
Okay.
How do you do it?
Well, the first like the short stories that I write is actually it's just out of my imagination, and how I love to watch like National Geographic. My ecology thingy is not only about plants, but It's also about like whales because I really love whales and I don't encounter them because I live in Jakarta. No whales here. So yeah.
So you put them in your store so that you are close to them. I
Yes,
guess.
yes. That is it. What you did too? Like, do you think?
Yeah, there are a lot of plants inside my books also, and because I like the nature, and so I put the nature next to me.
Because you want them close to
Yeah,
you. Yeah,
yeah.
right. That's what I did too. And I think that it's really important for me to ask about your researches too because I tend to spiral on my because yeah I think that my novel is not going to finish. My book is not going to finish because yeah I tend to be like more perfectionist. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. Okay. So, for your next book, the next book is just published last month,
Yeah, September.
2 months ago.
Yeah.
Okay. And what makes it different from Milk Teeth?
So the research, I think, and it's more it takes place in our world, so in Germany. So this one you can't really say where it take place. It's because it's, it could be in Germany, but it could be also in different, and you don't know which year. It could be in the future. So and this one is like very clear in the time and the place, and but I think that topics who are the same, like strong women and also yeah nature, the ocean take is a thing in both books. So
Do you think you're gonna be consistent in that theme, or you are willing to experiment?
I'm willing to experiment, but we will see. I think some topics are coming back, and I always imagine it like, in a theater, you have the room with all things you put on the stage, and some things you use every time because they have, I don't know, they have a meaning for you, and you want to put them next time in a different light to. Yeah, and so, but sometimes you put things and then afterwards you just throw them away because you're not gonna use them again. But I think some things stay.
All right, cool. All right. Any last questions before we're gonna do we're gonna close this interview? Any last questions? Yeah, with Claudia.
I don't think so, but I'm asking this question anyway. When you, I don't know, as a writer, do you have a special readership in mind? And who actually is your readership? Is it more a younger readership or an older readership, or?
I don't have a specific group in mind. I think books should be for everybody. So I hope a lot of people read it. I don't know. How is it? Do you have a yeah?
Well, in Indonesia, it's for me. For me, readership is more like a gift. Is it? I'm not that influential enough to shape my readers because I'm still just emerging. Do you think that you're an emerging writer, or do you think you're emerging, or
I think
you're not?
no.
Right?
Okay, but I think it's never mind.
But yeah, you don't really think about your readership then, or
No, I think it's also good to not have them on your shoulder the whole time,
yes.
because when they're like sitting there and then you maybe stop writing about things that you don't. I think you just have to write what you want to write, and then things gonna work out. Otherwise, it's too. Then you will have a crisis, I guess, if you have too much, and also the market. If you have the market in your head and all this stuff, it's too much pressure on your shoulders. So leave that all behind, close the door, and start writing without them.
Cool. Thank you for having us, and thank you for
Thank you for being here with me too.
yeah. And where can we get your books? If, do you want to promote? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where. I don't know. I think there are not any copies here, so I have to come back and bring some. Yeah, but
All right.
yeah. Or you can just borrow it because you have it now. So
Okay. Thank
but-
you. Thank you once again, Helene Bukowski, for having us in Jaktent. And on behalf of Jakarta Content Week 2022, I would like thank you for your participation in Tropical Issues and Author's Duty session. We still have a lot of interesting sessions on Jaktent, so you can all access them on jaktent.id website. And also follow our social media at Jakten for the latest information. Stay healthy, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. When Claudia wrote me the email and said you want to go to Jakarta, I was okay. Of course, I want to go, and it's been such a nice time here. Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you.